So Sony started their conference with a guy coming up on stage and just kind of improv joking for a bit. And then they got off stage and someone else came up on stage and played a song. I don't know why they did that, but they apparently felt like, people came to E3 to hear music. So this guy solos this entire song, and you just kind of have to wait through it. And then afterwards he was done, they loaded up a trailer and some gameplay of Last of Us Part 2. That game looks very, very graphically violent. I wasn't expecting to see somebody disemboweled at E3 today, but, it happened. So that game's really gross looking. The AI seems to be quite intelligent for the stealth sequence of the game, calling out to each other and expressing ideas about where they think you might be. So that was kind of cool to see. I'd be interested in the game if there's a way to toggle off the gore, and especially if there is a way to pacifist run the game. I was honestly expecting there to be like a bunch of zombies and clickers and stuff, since it was Last of Us, but the footage only showed humans fighting humans, which was kind of weird. After that, we were told that we had to wait while they moved everybody from the first convention hall to a second convention hall, because Sony apparently made bad plans with their convention. They should have only had one convention hall anyway. It takes a lot of time to get people to move from one convention hall to another one. So it was a good long wait. And while we waited, they just had some people talk about random stuff and showing what were basically just commercials. Like, they weren't even really trailers, because they didn't have like any sort of like new information in them, I don't think. They were just like a really brief, oh yeah, this feature is happening. Like, there was one that showed the world's most armor-piercing round just shooting through everything, as they had text in the background saying, oh yeah, remember these old stages from Call of Duty Black Ops? We're bringing these maps back into Call of Duty Black Ops 3. So, I mean, if you play Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and you miss the old maps, that's cool, but that really isn't like a trailer or anything I would expect to see at E3, like super prominently displayed. Like, it would be fine to just have like it as a footnote, but to be all like, well, we're waiting on people to freaking move from one convention hall to another one, so we might as well tell you about this. Kind of made it feel super underwhelming. Then afterwards, they got into the second convention hall. They had another guy play a different song on a bamboo flute, so that was kind of weird, which is back to the whole, like, I think Sony just thought everybody came to E3 for music, because, like, they had, like, 2 different music pieces in their conference, but then afterwards he was done playing his song, it went into trailer and some gameplay footage for Ghosts of Tsushima, and that looks interesting. It's a samurai game. It looks really gorgeous. I don't know a whole lot about it right now, but it definitely looks interesting. After Ghost of Tsushima, there was a trailer for a game called Control, which seems to be a game where your main character has a bunch of superpowers. And after that, there was a Resident Evil 2 trailer. The graphics look amazing for a game so old, so I think it's fairly safe to say that it's a remake of Resident Evil 2, and they just are horrible with their naming scheme and decided to name it the same thing, but that's fine. After that, there was a trailer for Trover Saves the Universe, which is totally not a Rick and Morty game, despite having suspiciously Rick and Morty-like characters and being made by one of the people who made Rick and Morty. Like, it's pretty obvious where the inspiration comes from. After that, there was another Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. This time it was a different trailer, which is interesting because, like, freaking Square Enix shows the same trailer as Microsoft, just an extended cut version at their own conference, but then Sony gets to have a completely unique one that is different. Like, well, why didn't they just give Sony the extended cut version and then keep the unique one for their conference? It's super weird. You would expect the people who made the game to have the most exclusive trailer, but they didn't. After that, there was a trailer and some gameplay footage, or what looks a lot like gameplay footage, for Death Stranding, which is Hideo Kojima's new project. It looks like you're going to be playing as a delivery guy in a post-apocalyptic world, which, I mean, that makes sense. Somebody's got to deliver the pizzas. Even if the world's going to hell, people want to eat. So that looks good. It was kind of gross when he ripped his toenail off. I wasn't expecting to see that at E3 this year either. Just this presentation was full of gross imagery. But the game looks really good. I like the idea of playing as a delivery person, so I might pick that game up. I don't know. I'm sure I'll have more time to think about it before it comes out because it ain't coming out anytime soon. After that, there was a teaser trailer for Neo 2. And then afterwards that, they went on to Spider-Man footage. And the Spider-Man footage, there was gameplay mixed in with it. So, like, you got to see what the game was like. Basically, it's with the Batman Arkham type gameplay where you have your reaction to enemies attacking you, which just makes sense because Spider-Man's spider sense. It makes way more sense for Spider-Man to play that way than it makes for Batman to play that way because Batman doesn't have a bat sense or anything like that. He shouldn't be able to detect people swinging something at the back of his head, but Spider-Man really should. So then afterwards that, their conference is over. That was all they had to show. They only had 4 major games to show off. They all looked pretty interesting. But overall, the conference is kind of disappointing because I spent so much time waiting around for them to show me the next cool thing. Like, games-wise, they had a bunch of really cool games that nobody else was showing off. But, like, presentation-wise, like, it was a horrible conference. Watching that conference was very difficult. I actually fell asleep watching this conference and had to go back and rewatch it. That's how bad the presentation was. So it was kind of disappointing. But overall, the games they announced looked good, and looking forward to learning more about them. Particularly, I'm interested in whether or not I can turn down those graphic settings a little bit on the gore side, because I really don't like seeing that kind of gross stuff. So, like, if I can't turn off gore, I don't think I'm going to play Last of Us Part 2. I don't want to see people getting disemboweled all the time. But if there's a setting to turn that off, and there's a way to pacifist run the game, definitely interested. I really like stealth games, and there is definitely a stealth system in that game. Watching the gameplay, like, there's definitely the ability to sneak around. So it's just a matter of whether or not the developers allow you to take that to the logical extreme of, well, if I can sneak around, then why bother fight anything? So that would be cool to know. But they didn't tell me that. So I'll just have to wait and see. And that was it for the Sony conference. So I will see you all for the Nintendo conference.